This week on your old school RuneScape update, Mahogany Homes is streamlined for both building furniture and sipping tea. Animations around the game got a spring cleanup, and the lone green pixel of the Trick Emote is no more. Also Deathmatching, Zalcano, and slaying demons. This is the old school RuneScape update, episode 40, recorded Saturday, August 10th, 2024. The Lone Green Pixel. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the old school RuneScape update. Sirion and myself are sitting in as we are each and every weekend here, though, you know, we like to say this is the first RuneScape podcast of the new week for you. Any fun stories we'll be hearing about that you want to tease before we get to what have we been doing in the patch notes this week? No fun stories this week. No. Okay. Fair enough. Well, I will have to fill that gap then. And you know, I was actually a little bit coy with him yesterday about what I was doing and why I was down to level 5 magic. But a little bit later, of course, in the show we'll get into all that. Is good and well with that. But in the meantime, if you want to follow along, full show notes can be found over at update.show/OS. You can also subscribe there by clicking on any of your favorite podcast listening services and youtube.com/@OSRS update as well. But we're just going to do as we do here and jump in to the patch notes for the week, which is poll 82. Some of the changes from poll 82 have made their way into the game, and the ones that, you know, bubbled their way to the top of the list here for all intents and purposes is first off, the quick start feature for Temperos. Now you were doing a lot of this a few weeks back. How important is this?
This is nice because, like, for example, when I went and started, there was someone else on the same world. And basically the way it works is it's similar to like your pest control ship or your fishing trawler where, you know, somebody gets on the boat and when, you know, the timer runs out, everybody who's on the boat gets pushed into the same instance.
Right.
If you want to do solo Temperos, you better not get on the boat with another person.
Oh, so you kind of got to time it at the exact right time and go all together. Okay, so...
Or either go all together or wait until the other person has left, teleport it out, and then go onto the ship.
Okay, that explains why.
And the quick start basically allows you to bypass that, and it also makes it a little bit quicker. Like some people would actually go and take an alt, and then get on the ship on their alt to start the timer, and then, you know, speed up things a little bit.
That
way.
Seems overly convoluted.
Oh, it's like I think you're saving seconds at that point. So I don't think that's But hey, now you can just do it anyway. It gets rid of that. It gets rid of the little bit of annoying micromanagement you have to do.
When it comes to late stage optimization, I feel like seconds is what people play RuneScape for.
I mean, it depends, right? Like,
not me.
Seconds,
I don't care that much, but everybody else.
It's seconds on an encounter that takes multiple minutes. So I feel like, sure, if you talk about like 2 ticks or something like that, right?
Oh, God.
Right, like that kind of stuff. Like, because at that point, saving a second actually makes a big difference.
Over the span to 99.
Yeah, but a few seconds every time you start a Temperos encounter, meh. But I'm glad it's there now. It's a nice feature. It means you can just, you know, get in there and not have to worry about other players because, multiplayer games, am I right?
We love our MMOs because we can play them in single-player mode.
Exactly.
But here's a big one, and this bothered me when I was training construction in Mahogany Homes. You'll no longer be shown the furniture creation menu to build a particular hotspot if you already have all the materials on you.
Yeah, because the whole point is that you build like a specific one. So this was a little bit of a funny one for me, as well. That this wasn't the case before. I did a bunch of construction contracts or Mahogany Homes,
Same thing.
And it's so funny because I've been grinding a whole bunch of Mahogany Homes a while back, and my muscle memory was completely upset at this change. I kept trying to use the keyboard shortcuts to select the
Right.
piece of furniture, but
Whoa,
of
whoa, whoa,
course
whoa,
that's
whoa!
no
You
longer
could use the
necessary.
keyboard to select the stuff in that menu that would pop up.
Yeah, of course, of course. And it happened to be the same number as the number you would use to get the contract with Amy. So I just had like my left hand continuously on 4, which is the number you needed for Mahogany.
News to me.
And then of course, like on my keyboard, F3, which is what switches to the magic tab for me, is right above it for switching to my spell book for NPC contact.
Okay, that makes a whole lot more sense. And one thing I was going to say with this, and I remember talking about this when the poll came out, is that you can pull this and it's going to win because after you unlock a various level, I see very few reasons that you would go back to a lower level contract, right? Like we're talking about Iron Man specific reasons if you don't have the right amount,
I
or if you need
accidentally
to do one for an achievement or something like that.
I accidentally did a beginner's shortcut by hitting the wrong number key. But that was alright. I had the planks in my bank anyway, and it put my points total to a nice multiple of 5. So now, I can be rest assured that my points totals
are
are
divisible
good
by
again.
5.
Yeah, are divisible by 5 exactly. So all good. All is good again in the world of Syrian.
And he's not lying about that. That's a real thing. Amongst not only the construction contract Mahogany Homes points, but just in general. So, the delay when drinking tea after completing a construction contract has also been removed with this.
Yeah, I think I think that basically means that you are not stuck in place while drinking it, so you can just get going quicker.
Yeah, carry on with your life.
I really didn't really notice this, but it might be that I noticed the delay before, and now that it's gone, I don't notice, which is good. The game should not get in your way ever.
Yeah, and to be
that's
fair,
really important.
And to be fair, this makes Mahogany Homes more of a dialogue-driven thing now with these changes than a user interface-driven thing. Which the difference between that is that every time you are forced to operate a user interface and think about what you're going to do, that's a bit of extra time that you spend thinking. Whereas if you're in a dialogue mode or you know which dialogue paths to take right off the bat, that's going to be quicker than navigating the UI, if that makes sense.
But I really, really dislike the fact that so much of my what's it called? Construction contract training is at this point dialogues.
Right, and you have to kind of think with that, and I think the way you make this okay is if you put yourself in the RP sense, and that you realize that your character is still going out there and building furniture for people who have asked you to do that in their homes. And I think when you make that connection, it's okay. But otherwise, like you said, it becomes more dialogue based, and you start to say, does this really feel like training, or am I just getting XP for pushing talking to people, right? So it's an interesting thing.
Just, I don't know. I wish I had an easier way of just give me another contract that's the same as the previous one.
Right.
And I think they're gonna add that, though I don't know how it's gonna work with NPC contact. That's still there. But look, I'm glad that we're already getting some of the Poll 82 changes. Like in the past, we've definitely seen that the quality of life poll changes can take a while to show up, and I think they made the right call here to just be like, hey, you know what? these are really easy to do. Let's just quickly do them.
Yeah, because, keep in mind we're coming off Dead Man, right? And then we're
Yes.
still waiting for the August headliner, which, based off of what we saw at the summer summit, the winter summit back in February, was that we should be getting Farlamore Part 2 either this month or next month.
I don't think
August.
that's going to come in August. I don't
No.
think that. No.
We would have been hearing about it.
That's
by
an
now.
unrealistic expectation. We haven't gotten any content posts for that yet. We haven't gotten any further devlogs.
We got the Herblore activity one.
Yeah, but there's going to be more. I can't believe that with what we have right now, they're going to call it a day. So
you think it's going to slip beyond the summer marker?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think we will probably see some kind of teaser trailer or some content review at the upcoming summer summit. But
September 7th, by the way, people, if you haven't heard.
Yeah, like I don't see them actually releasing it next month.
Okay. Bit of a detour there from the patch notes this week. Next up, a bunch of animations got a spring cleaning pass. This is interesting because one of the RuneLite plugins that I run with is the motion tweening one, and for some for various things in the game that messes up their animation. So I was curious to see what these looked like, and it's difficult to talk about these unless we have an idea of what's actually there. And they did post the pictures and animations of some of them. So like for example, the Darox axe and Soul Reaper axe, you can see what the new running animation looks like in game. And if you ask me to A/B which one was the old one and which one is the new one, I would be hard pressed to tell you exactly which one is there. But I feel like this is just something that we're going to see over time as old school goes well into the second half of its second decade, which feels weird saying given how long it's been here, that these sorts of animations that are obviously very clunky from way back in the day are going to get updated and just brought into modern standards to kind of create a more immersive environment, especially when the HD client arrives, whenever that might be.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to see what the Darox ones looks like, you can find that in the news post. But I think the thing that you and I both had our eye drawn to it this week, with this one, in terms of the animation spring cleaning, is that the Trick Emote will no longer have a green pixel in it.
Amazing, isn't it? What a hilarious patch notes, if you ask me.
Is there a reason this could be a regression for some people?
Surely not. Surely not. I mean, there's gonna be people who claim it's going to be a regression, but no, surely not, right?
Okay, fair enough. They also removed the one take delay on the returning animation of the tonal 6 of Ralos. Boy, that's a mouthful. Special attack when charged. That's just a small sampling of some of the animation changes there, and overall, I feel like unless you intimately know these items, you're not gonna specifically notice these off the bat. But we just had to mention the lone green pixel.
Poor pig green pixel.
Yeah. All right. Other changes. If you meet an Armadillion guard while doing a treasure trail, it'll have a small air elemental vulnerability to it. In line.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does, based on what we had with,
because the Aviancy have a small air weakness as well, right?
Yeah. Which we remember from the project rebalance back and forth that was a result of community discussion that some people agree with and other people disagree with on that.
I still think air weakness should not be a thing, but
That's exactly what I was talking about.
yeah.
In any case, uh, here's a big one, and you didn't know this. The avatar of creation and the avatar of destruction will now have one safe spot within each boss area. Now,
I was under the impression they were gonna get rid of the safe
oh, I
spot
thought
that
they were going to
was
do
there.
that too.
And here they are, like, nope. Instead of it being a bug, it's now a feature, which I
Yeah.
think is hilarious. I wonder how that came to be.
I honestly think it's just something in terms of where the the elementals were placed and the way the map was designed that just manifested itself when Soul Wars was built. And
Yeah, I'm
it just
guessing it
is
was too
something they
hard to
live with.
fix the safe spot, so
Hmm.
this is then the other way to balance. Oh, hilarious.
Yeah, and
Hilarious.
I didn't know about this, but I did a good amount of Soul Wars and leagues, and I when I was in one of the lobbies once, people were um complaining one way or another based on what team they got in, and I looked that up as to the reasons to prefer one team or another team, and it was that exact same thing that we're just talking about here, realizing that one of the teams had a safe spot associated with it that just gave them a small edge going forward in that. So, the more you know, but if you were remiss and you just saw why would they add a safe spot in each arena, well, it's one safe spot already existed in one of the other ones, and this is just making things even. So the more you know about Soul Wars, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, for standard herb patches that are in a state where they need attention, such as for harvesting or curing, the click zone will now cover the full 2x2 patch for easier clicking instead of just the herb.
Yeah, this is nice. I do my herb runs on mobile, so bigger click areas are always welcome.
Okay, that
Um,
explains something.
yeah, it's also weird because I think the other patches, like for example, allotment and all of that, they worked like this. Like, herbs were always already different than the rest, so I'm glad that that's now the same. The one thing that I found annoying is if you plant herb seed and then try and use your compost on the patch, you still have to use it on the tiny click area of the herb you just planted. It doesn't have the entire patch's click area there. So it's not perfect, and it's a little bit inconsistent right now. But at least for harvesting, it means, there's a
Which
bigger
is the
click
big
area.
action when you think about
Which
it.
is the big and most important action. And to be honest, I usually do compost and plant anyway.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
not
the
a
way I
big
do it.
deal. It's not a big deal, but it that inconsistently kills me. And if it's the other way around, it would be nice, I think. So that's sort of what I was hoping for.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'll also just take this as a moment to say that last month we actually missed the anniversary of the farming skill.
How? How could you, Shane?
I know, I should have mentioned it on the show. July 11th, 2005.
Yeah. I given how much of a fan you are of that skill, I am.
It's surprising I'm not 99 yet, right?
Yes,
It,
exactly.
it's called needing to make sure that the money goes into the right place and realizing
You
that,
don't.
oh,
You make money from farming.
I know, but I wanted to put the money into my combat gear situation.
Yeah, but you can make more money by doing more farming. The doing the farming contracts is actually a net positive cash flow,
It
and you
is.
get and yes, and you get to plant things. Like, sure, it's not going to be as fast as doing your tree run every day, but still, if you make sure you got a bunch of things planted, every now and then you have like a redwood tree or a magic tree or a dragon fruit tree, it adds up. Like, I don't know if I would do it to 99. I kind of stopped
No.
doing the
No.
contracts because they're a little bit of a pain.
Yeah, I
But
stopped at around 75-ish.
for doing like a few minutes of work a day, if you do that every day, I think it will not take you that long to get to stack up some pretty good farming XP. So
Yeah, like and even the seeds that you get from it, like the non-tradable ones, I think that's probably the best source of spirit seeds, unless you're wanting to play the nest gambling game. But,
yep.
Anyway,
Speaking of, I stacked up my nests
uh-huh.
from birdhouses for a while. I had like 200 or so in the bank. The last inventory of 14, I got 3 dragon fruit seeds. I'm like, mwah.
You're making me want to start birdhouses again now that I got the.
Oh, do them. That's really like this is the thing with like things like herb runs and birdhouses, in my opinion.
Yeah, they pair
right?
well together.
I mean, first of all, they pair well together. Second of all, they add up over time, right? Like they're very time limited. So even though like I don't have a hunt to go right now, and it's not that much money from the birdhouses, I still do them because I know that at some point I will need a hunter level. And if you then start doing birdhouses, you then need to wait all of that time for that XP to come out of the birdhouses.
Yeah.
So that is kind of why I'm keeping doing them. It's sort of like it's my gift to my future self.
Let's just save looking out for ourselves in real life, and let me be as inefficient as I want in RS. Yeah, I know I'm going to get raked over the coals for that in the comments, but hey, it is the way it is. Speaking of things that people might need, you can now heat cups of hot water on a range or fire, and bowls of boiling water can now also be poured into empty cups via make all menu. I don't know who needs this, but there you are.
I drank some tea earlier today to help me building.
Okay, but you didn't make it yourself.
Of course I made my own tea.
Really?
Because the tea you use in your POH is untradeable.
Oh, right, that tea.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what this refers to, by the way.
I don't know. Are they, like, I'm thinking one
no,
thing that
no,
comes
because
up,
this is bowls of boiling water. Yeah, I have no idea.
Like, one thing I'm thinking that comes up with this in particular is the nettle tea from that quest in Mauritania.
Yeah.
Like, I'm seeing this as a use case for this, and just in general where you need hot water for something. But in any case, we were talking about gambling seeds. The no fun police have arrived.
Come on, Shane.
For another aspect of gambling.
Oh, that's
all right.
It's not just about fun.
I know. Hang on. Full disclosure here. Don't break the RuneScape rules. I don't break the RuneScape rules. We're not encouraging you to do that. Okay, with that being said, I think we have one of the spiciest posts here that we've talked about before on the podcast here. And it's a very innocuous title. The Future of Deathmatching.
Mm-hmm.
So they start off by saying that since the removal of the duel arena in 2022 to stop activity which was deemed as unacceptable in line with rules, such as real-world trading, players have been pushing the boundaries in other ways to replicate the activity. In October of that year, they made it clear that both community chucking and any staking or dueling with the help of a middleman is not allowed. So now their focus turns to death matching, which is, and they actually define it here in the post, which I appreciate, and then that is what allowed me to connect the dots on this. It's where players fight each other in a PvP match to the death, where high stakes are being gambled on the fight, as the winner gets all the loot and money dropped. This is majorly, if not always, linked to real-world trading. Players will agree to use a standard set of equipment and not heal in any way throughout the fight until one player has perished, leaving the victor to claim the money that was quote-unquote staked. And, I see this and as a way of gambling. And, rightly so, it's Jagex's game. They're free to make the decisions of what's allowed and what's not allowed. specifically when it comes to things like real world trading, you kind of have to put your foot down on that, because there was a time in the game's history where real world trading and botting damn near killed the game. So it's a very serious thing that is being looked at. I've never done this myself, but I do know people who took great pride in the duel arena and used that duel arena as, let's just say, the place they would go on the weekend for some fun.
Oh, yeah. See, this is like another problem, right? With like when it comes to real world trading and things like that, is that like in the Netherlands, for example, first of all, gambling is legal, but has pretty severe restrictions on you know. There's like a requirement of companies who facilitate gambling to build in certain safeguards so that the app automatically locks off if you spend too much money in a given period of time. This like Jagex can't do that because they really can't see any of this, right? So in certain countries, they might actually be facilitating illegal gambling with this.
And see, that's an interesting way when you put that, because casinos dot the landscape here, and they are regulated within a similar boundary set as to what you're saying, though I don't know if we shut things off after you put too much money in. But I think the RuneScape comparison with this is that, let's just say somebody spends $500 on bonds or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Converts that all to cash, goes deathmatching with a real world trader, loses rather than winning more and doubling it. Oh, you've just given that much GP to the gold sellers to let them do their illicit things with.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, there's so many things that could go wrong, and like, look, we could have a discussion here about, the ethicality of gambling, if you wanna call it that. But like, ultimately, what I feel it comes down to is that if Jagex wants to have a gambling element in the game, they damn well need to keep control over that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And see, that's the thing, is that like you said, there are those jurisdictions out there where it becomes problematic. So as a result of that, you don't necessarily want to be facilitating something that is gambling, and you also don't want to be facilitating the people who are taking money out of your pockets with the with the gold selling stuff. But I'm not kidding you. I know people who, worked up and got a certain rare in game. This is the other game, of course, where rare items are a thing, like party hats and whatnot. They took it to the duel arena, and by the end of one night, they walked away with a party hat set.
No.
As an example, and the case here would be cash. So
look, but that's the thing, right? Like for the same, with the same probability, they walk away with nothing.
Yeah.
And then they have just staked like a significant chunk of time, like,
and for a lot of people,
then they might be like, okay, but next time I'll win. So they start putting some real world money into it to get some bonds, and this is a problem because this is a massive problem because this is how you create gambling addicts.
But I also don't think it's Jagex's role to make sure and prevent the creation of gambling
at least
addicts.
Dutch law states that yes, it is the law of the platform that facilitates gambling to prevent this.
Fascinating.
And again, that is something you might agree or disagree with.
Well, you know what category I'm in. I'm in the disagree category.
I agree with it because these people tend to become a burden on society. Because they start needing subsidies, they start needing government subsidies. So my tax money is going to maintaining their financial situation. So yes, I do think there is something to say for that. But this is not a politics show.
It could be.
So that's why, like, I think gambling does more harm than it does good. So with that logic, I am all in favor of this crackdown.
Right. And then, I think the other thing, to look at on this is that if this became to a situation where they were not able to effectively tamp down on it and they kept finding different ways of doing it, or, there just was a sufficient blowback against this.
The whole thing is it's already against the rules.
I know, but I'm just saying if people find a way against it, or there was a blowback because of this, at what point do you like at what point do you then say that this is a game that, there's people who play this that are 18 plus, maybe we need to look at having a legislated gambling section somewhere.
Oh, come on.
I mean,
why would that be necessary? No, like,
you never, like, if people like their if people,
they can play RS3 if they want to go gamble.
I'm talking
Yes.
I'm talking about, like, the gambling and staking of items and whatnot.
That's not, like,
not necessarily.
The game
like
doesn't
a,
have to
like
facilitate.
A lockbox.
I don't think that those players make high quality users for a company like Jagex.
Yeah, and it comes down at the end of the day to what kind of clientele Jagex wants, right?
Exactly. Like, you need to also invest in, like, what are the kind of players you actually want? What are the kind of and that, yeah, I think that's important as well, because really, like, this, if you think about it, Jagex couldn't care less for free to play players. Not much. I mean, they have some value, maybe some advertisement, right? Maybe some mouth-to-mouth advertisement. But, like, ultimately, they cost server capacity, but they don't put
It's not that much.
Exactly, right?
And that, leads to a bigger question, too. What do you want the, general state of free-to-play to be in the game? Is it a demo, or is it a game that's, run side by side where you can gain a significant amount of progress in and then move to members? And where this comes back to the whole gambling situation is that, do you maintain that? And to be clear, I'm not saying that Jagex shouldn't have, a slot machine mechanic somewhere or some part of the desert or the wilderness where you can go and, put a stack of GP and, go against somebody and double it. I'm just saying what the perspective is on the people who are doing this, and, we don't know, you and I, how many of the people are out there are doing this, and what the financial impact is because of the real world trading aspect.
True.
So what I'm saying is that if it was something that was a substantive portion of the population and player base, and it was something that Jagex was okay with, then maybe they would go around and add some sort of slot machine mechanic to the game. And the only reason I say this is because I know there are people out there who quit when the dual arena was removed for that reason.
Yeah, and like, I think good riddance. Like, that's what I mean with, like, the quality of players, right? Like, what did those people realistically add to the community?
And then if you go down
don't create a better game.
But then if you go down that path, at what point do you stop? Because there's certain types of players that I'd like to see quit the game, but
yeah. But, like, if those are players that Jagex still makes a lot of money on.
You know what it comes down to at the end of the day? And I think this is why I'm saying that it should be an option if Jagex sees that there's lots of them. You know what it comes down to at the end of the day?
Mm-mm.
What's going to earn Jagex the most money?
Of course, it's their business.
Yeah, what's going to be the best business decision, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And when you go gambling and you look at the whole gambling situation, it adds many, many wrinkles into the fabric of realizing what your game needs to do if you were going to go down that path in terms of online gambling. Because I remember when online gambling became legal in Canada, and there was a huge regulatory change that was needed for that. I think it's gone over okay with what we have now, but
yeah,
do you put RS in that
here it
category?
became legalized, and like within 2 months you were being thrown, like you couldn't look in like one direction without seeing some kind of ad. It's frustrating. Now they're cracking down again on the gambling because it's bloody everywhere. Like all of the football stadiums here are named after gambling companies now, because they threw millions at sponsor deals.
Well, and see, this is the difference, I guess, is that all of our hockey arenas here are named after the big telecom companies. So I mean, choose your poison. Which one you'd rather have, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, things here are named after something. I'm still always incredibly amused by the fact that one of the football clubs in the Netherlands walks around with the name of a famous sex toy shop on their t-shirts, because that's their main sponsor. I'm like, bold choice, but all right.
So I guess bringing this back to RS then, if there was to be an After Dark version of RuneScape, gambling would fit well in there, but maybe that's not the clientele that Jagex wants right now. So
yeah,
there we have it. All right. What have we been up to? We finally completed Fairy Tale Part 2. That's just been sitting there. That took 5 minutes to do.
It's so funny because I had this idea of like, oh, it's a medium quest, it's gonna take a while to finish, not really gonna get any rewards out of it. And you said, oh, we're gonna just do it today, and then you like you said, it took like 5 minutes to finish the rest of it.
Yeah, and I think honestly what was happening there, because I thought it was going to be a longer quest too, is I thought my memory of it was probably getting blurred together with Fairy Tale Part 3 from RS3.
Yes, and we already did half of it to unlock the fairy rings, I suppose. So, adding those two factors up, it was a quick one to finish. But it's good. Allowed me to put my own fairy ring in my POH.
Give us Part 3.
Oh yeah, give Shane more reasons to imitate the fairy godfather accent.
Yeah, fair enough, eh? I get groans all the time when that happens. But we also headed to the desert for Anakra's Lament.
I had no memory of this quest.
No, neither did
whatsoever. I had no idea what to expect.
But of course, what happens in that is, you free another Majorat from the desert. Ooh, scary.
Yeah.
Given where things go at this point. And, after this quest was done, you sat down and you had a look at the tree on this. And then most of what's left in the desert now for us, aside from Desert Treasure 2, is either
tombs.
What?
Tombs. Raid.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a mini quest. But we also have the Metaphite Pantheon stuff. I thought you said it was a mini quest.
No, Beneath Cursed Sands is not a mini quest. It's a fully fledged quest.
Okay. Fair enough. For some reason, I thought we were talking about a mini quest there. Okay, so we have that. We have the Metaphite Pantheon stuff, the Menaphos Sophanum stuff, and I think that's it in the desert side. But
that's the Spirits of the Elid as well, which is kind of sort of it's a weird one.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing with the desert quest, is that they're pulling off in so many different directions. I think the one, of course, that everybody always remembers is the stuff that leads us back to the Majorat, of course, because that's where the iconic Desert Treasure got its start, and then that's, of course, what leads us to the even more iconic Desert Treasure 2. So, but in addition to that, I normally put you up first in the What Have We Been Doing section, but I'm going to go first this week. Is that I have been slowly but surely working on getting my melee combat stats up. I hit 75 this week. I hope to, at some point, just sit down for, a number of hours there in the Nightmare Zone. And I do want to get to 82, maybe even 85 for that before, doing the last of the Grandmaster quest. Because I feel like getting combat level 105 is something that I want to do. And, getting close to around 85 combat stats-ish is going to be a way to accomplish that. And every time I head down into the Nightmare Zone presently at below 92 hit points, I'm reminded that, oh boy, this is going to be a long time at 60 odd K XP an hour. So I guess we just kind of have to accept that on the melee front, don't we? Because there's not much else faster until then.
Yep.
No pest control?
Pest control is faster, but only once you get to 100 combats.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of a non-starter. In that regard,
which I'm getting close to. I'm at 98, so I'm getting there actually.
Yeah, and see that's the weird.
And I'm honestly thinking, like, you want pretty high combat levels, and I think they're gonna help. But I am getting to the point where I'm reasonably confident. I mean, Desert Treasure 2, no, but the other quests, I'm reasonably confident I could make my way through them. Especially because, every level, right, is linearly is an incremental upgrade, right, in a linear sense.
Yeah.
Right? Your accuracy, your max hit, it gets only linearly better, but it becomes so much more work to get those levels.
Yeah, like my main thing for 82 attack is the Fang.
Yeah, sure. But even then, if you look at sort of the combat upgrades you're going to get at this point, right? Like, I don't think the differences are going to be as much as they have been in the past.
No, it's not. And see, that's the thing, is that the difference between 80, 82, and 85 stat-wise is not that much. It's just, is there a weapon that you unlock that can help you along the way, like the Fang, for example. I know I definitely need 75 ranged before doing anything serious with range for the to get the blowpipe. I know that's that's a requirement. I do know that I would like to get 78 magic to get the upgraded trident as well, though it's not that big of a difference, but it'd be nice to have. So it's just things like that that's pushing that. That's the primary focus. And like if I chuck, 82 across the board in, then, that gets me relatively close to what I was thinking. It's not, going to be 85 across the board because it's nice, but just the amount of time that I would need to do that is something that makes my head hurt. So I'll get there eventually on that. But one other thing I did do this week, and this is why my stats were down. Like, we started this quest, I'm like, oh, I better, bring my magic up. I only have level, 38 magic right now. I went back to Zalcano.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I did a bit of that in leagues, and I wanted to, see what it was going to be like here, in the live game, and how that would go based on, the stats I had presently. And, what I found with that is that, you know how we talk about old school PVM being inherently, movement based is one of the core things it can lean on, right? Mm-hmm. I found, and I didn't remember this that much when I was doing it in leagues, but Zalcano is incredibly movement-based compared to something like Wintertoad.
Makes sense.
And the reason, of course, for that, for people who are unaware, is that throughout the fight, periodically, you'll have rocks that fall down from the ceiling, and if you don't evade them, you're going to get hit for 30+. And there's also, of course, things you have to evade on the ground, the orange demonic circles that also cause great amounts of damage. So not only are you, of course, trying to make sure that you mine the glowing rocks and then refine them into things that you can chuck at Zalcano to lower the shields, you're also trying to make sure that you don't run over things on the floor while doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I wanted to go back this week in particular is that for the RS3 show, we're working on one of our monthly bits for the Patreon people about skill expression and skilling bosses. And I figured that I'd done Winterdote. I did Zalcano in Leagues, and I need to go back to it. And at some point, I should also go in and try Temperos with that, because what my thinking is that which of these 3 skilling bosses in old school feel the most boss-like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so far, you compare Zalcano and Winterdote. I have to say it's Zalcano. Did you have a chance to sit down with Zalcano at all during Leagues?
No.
Okay. Tell me about Temperos then, in terms of how that feels compared to Winterdote.
It's a little bit different. Temporos feels a lot like Croesus in RS3, in that you first need to sort of work through like one phase, getting the defenses down, and then you do direct damage to the boss.
Okay.
There's a few other mechanics, but that's sort of how Temporos works. The fact that you're more directly interacting with it, I think, makes it feel more like a boss than Wintertoad.
Yeah, and that's the kind of abstraction that was there with Wintertoad that isn't there with Zalcano, is that you are directly interacting with the boss, and it has a health bar.
Temporos is sort of in the middle between the two.
Okay. And I also do have to say, when it comes to doing Zalcano, the amount of time you have to react there, it's also a reaction time test, because if you're doing it on like a main Zalcano world, that boss's life points bar is just going to drop like a rock as soon as people start hitting it with a pickaxe. So you got to make sure you're on your toes there, because for the first,
because otherwise you don't get your share of the reward.
Precisely, for the first couple of rounds. Oh, you didn't do enough damage to Zalcano to be worthy of a reward. Oops.
Oh, rip.
And you can also hit zeros on that boss, despite it being a mining check. So that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I wasn't able to figure out, and maybe it's just the endgame nature of Prif, everybody there was north of 110 combat.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I was definitely the lowest person there in the 90s.
Fascinating. Okay, that's interesting.
So,
I mean, to be honest, like it's Prif content, right? So, yeah.
Are we underleveled for Prif? Is that it?
We're definitely on the lower end of it, I think. But I mean, we're not under level. 95 is the recommended level, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I don't know. It's a fun boss to do, Zalcano. And the other thing that I found very neat about it, being able to compare both Zalcano and Winterdote, is that looking at it, Winterdote you do for XP. You do Zalcano for the mining.
You can switch it though, right? Didn't they release that you can switch between getting more XP but less items and vice versa? Or is that just a recommend? Is that something? I thought that was part of the skilling rebalance, project rebalance for the skilling stuff.
I don't think that's arrived yet.
I was pretty sure that it had.
I don't know how to do that if that's the case.
Well, I've never been to Zalcano in main or league, so.
Huh. Okay, that's going to be something I'm going to have to look at, because as it stands, it's, the loot table is good on the mining and smithing side, but I think if you could tilt that to be more XP related, that would be an interesting conversation to have. Oh yeah, it's right here. May 8th, this came into game. Talk to Rhiannon to toggle between resource and experience rewards. Toggling off resource rewards still rolls for the unique and pet rewards. The forced amount of downs has been removed from Zalcano, and players can no longer boost another player's unique drop rate by leaving the fight early. Okay. So that is then. You just talk to Rhiannon. I'm going to have to go back again this week and see what the XP is like in XP mode. But another fun thing with this is that if you are able to be very effective at it, the wiki estimates that you could earn upwards of about 1.5 million profit an hour doing it.
That's not bad.
No, it's not. So, it's also got the rune crafting component too to it, which is odd, but I guess that's how you imbue the things to chuck at Zalcano, and that's why it is a source of blood, death, law, cosmic, and soul runes too. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go back to it because it was a time where I actually looked at had fun with doing lean forward activities, which typically isn't how I play OS. But that was that side of it. And the other thing I did this week is I was actually able to head back out and head on to Scurious. And yes, I am very effective there now at, level 90 plus combat compared to whatever we were at when we talked about that boss dropping earlier in the year. But, in all honesty, I don't think I could probably do that for more than an hour at a time. So I don't think that's the melee training method for me. But that's been my week. About an hour Scurious and about an hour and a half of Zalcano amongst other little bits and bobs this week. So how about you?
Cool. For me, I've been sitting on the planks for 83 construction for a while, so it with the changes this week, I felt it was time to go and finish that off, so I did. It's nice. My POH is now in a pretty good state as well. Got all of the items. Got really lucky with the spicy stew boosts as well, which was great because we don't have wily cats yet because we haven't done red catches yet. So getting all of the spices was painful.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
This was to build the spice rack, right?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
This is to get myself the boost to build the items in my POH.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I got myself the ornate rejuvenation pool. I got myself the ornate jewelry box. So, I got the most important items at this point, which is absolutely fantastic. Really happy with that, to be honest. And yeah, I think I don't know what I'm gonna work on next, to be honest. That's sort of my problem. I've been working on 70 Slayer, slowly but surely. Current task that I'm trying to wrap up is Black Demons, which what surprises me though, right? Like a lot of people do the Black Demons in the catacombs because that's that just happens to be the easiest. That you happen to get like totem drops and ancient shard drops there.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I noticed, because it's a fairly busy spot, nobody was using the water spells, and I was because that
what were they doing instead?
A lot of ranged. I saw some melee, but I mostly a lot of ranged, and I'm wondering why. Like it might be that it's slightly better still, or and this is part of me. I wonder if there's momentum, right? Like people are so used to doing them with range that they're not considering the elemental weakness.
You don't think they weren't canoning it, were they?
Hmm. No, you can't canon in the catacombs of Corinth, so.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I unsure overall about all of this.
Right, and like when you look at it, anything that has an elemental weakness is you really should be using magic for, if we're being honest.
For me, I'm usually successful with it. Like the max hit goes up pretty significantly.
Yeah.
So I find that my DPS is fairly high with it. I mean, look, someone was on the same world as me, and who was sort of keeping up on kill rates, using like full crystal armor and a bow of Bofa. Screw it, I'm not gonna try and pronounce it. Right? So fair enough, but that's just gear I can't afford yet.
Yeah, no. But
yeah.
It is gear that you could get if you went to the gauntlet.
It is gear I could get if I went to the gauntlet, yeah. Or if I started staking my money at death matches, I guess.
You got 5 days until it's against the rules. And to be clear, despite me sounding like I was for the idea and you being against it, I'm of the opinion that we follow the RuneScape rules and we don't do that. But
yeah, overall pretty good. Slayer, meh. Like I said, I'm still not a huge fan of it, but it's fine, to be honest. And it's nice sort of chasing some of the drops, right? So I've got my first full totem. So whenever I get my third ancient crystal and I can make Arclight, I can do the Skotitso boss.
Nice.
Get some combat achievements there. So building that up slowly. I don't know if my Slayer is profitable at this time. My rune costs are fairly high right now.
Right.
But...
Right.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing. It's like, what do you put into Slayer at the early level? It's going to be, it's going to be a negative, or at the very, best case, a neutral, right? It's not until you get into the dedicated Slayer monsters and the things that really, produce that it becomes a moneymaker combat-wise.
Absolutely. I mean, and you got, of course, get like the high XP tasks, such as the Dust Devils that I did before.
Yeah.
You need to get a little bit lucky on that. But overall, yeah, it's been going fine. I mean, this is sort of like I need to go back and do some actual dedicated combat training. But, just finishing the Black Demon task, I'm like less than 10k from 80 magic. So
that's good.
So it does add up, right? Like if you think about it, you get 4 times as much combat XP as you get Slayer XP.
Mm-hmm.
So it adds up. In my case, so it provides a nice little bit of variety to sitting in a nightmare zone for forever.
Yeah, and see, that's the key. I haven't done too much of it, and I don't necessarily want to burn myself out, and that's why I'm not, going to be leaning into it, for multiple hours plus a day, because I really don't want to do that at this point with my old school ventures. But I believe that's us for the entire week. I don't know that there's anything else that we need to mention here. So big, huge thank you to, of course, everybody for listening and coming with us on this venture, gambling for good or for bad, depending on how it is. But we'll be back next week for another episode of the Old School RuneScape Update. If you want to subscribe, update.show/OS. Just go there, click on your favorite podcast listening service, whether that be Apple, Spotify, or Pocket Casts, or even YouTube at youtube.com/@OSRS Update. And with that being said, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Old School RuneScape Update. See you then, everyone. Take care.
Bye.